Today we're going to talk to you a little bit about how artificial intelligence has already revolutionized the venue sourcing process and how maybe, can everyone hear me? Good. How maybe it can do a little bit more.
So what is AI, artificial intelligence? Starting with how it's defined, it's a computer, an app, no signal, great. It's a computer, an app, a website, an algorithm which can take a task with a set goal, and it can do that task, learn from it, and then do it better next time, getting better each and every time, learning like you and like me. So it could be winning a game of chess against a human, like these finely fashioned young men over here, or it could be finding the perfect venue and suppliers for an event. It's not just the definition, but it's also the perception as well. What these guys might have considered AI, we now just take for granted. It's par for the course. And in the same way, what we think of AI now, in 30 years, will just be completely expected. So put more succinctly, AI is whatever hasn't been done yet. So let's take a step back in time.
All right, guys, so picture it, the year is 1987. The first Simpsons episode has just hit our screens. Faith by George Michael is the biggest selling single in the UK. Smoking has just been banned on some flights. And interestingly, Bombay Sapphire Gin has just launched. Like many years before, and all the years to come, it's time for the yearly sales conference. 150 key accounts, all flying in, a cool venue in London, high expectations to be met. And tasked with that job of finding that venue is Lisa. 5,000 venues in London. Lisa needs to find the perfect one. Has to be near Paddington, has to have 150 theatre, has to have breakout spaces, a sit-down dinner, upscale and on brand.
So Lisa comes into work on Wednesday and she searches for her little black book of venues where she keeps all her ideas and all the thoughts she's had before. She finds it, and at lunch someone suggests a new opening and another venue that they've heard about through a friend they think is quite good, and she adds it to the list. She also searched around for the yellow pages, but unfortunately can't find it, and so has to delay her venue search a bit. The following morning, she finds the yellow pages, and at a party the previous night, someone's given her another idea. So with the yellow pages, these ideas from her friend and her little black book, she starts calling, and by lunch, she's got through to most of them. By the end of the day, she's heard back from just about all of the rest, and so all she then has to do is wait for the venue proposal to come back by post, and that takes 3 to 4 days. So 5 days after she started, she's got back the proposals, she sits down with her team, a bit of diary wrangling, viewings are organised, and they pick the favoured one and decide to book. All in all, about a week from when she first started to think about this urgent event. Then onto the hotel, she puts the call in. 100 double rooms at the hotel, goes through to this huge telephone exchange room full of telephone operators who look up the price in a big fixed pricing grid, give her a quote. It's a bit more than she can really afford, but she books it anyway, and they send her the form by post. So, coming on to 2 weeks now after she first started, she's booked the venue, she has booked the hotel, and so she can start to relax, but also she's got to start the entire process again for the caterers and for the AV.
Cool, so all in all, a pretty time-consuming process. So Lisa, her friends, the hotel reservation team, they've done most of the thinking to do with this venue sourcing process. So the AI revolution at this stage hasn't really begun. So fast forward 30 years. In the meantime, in fact, about 4 years after that, the World Wide Web is born, and a huge indexable mass of all the world's information is created in one place. And every single venue makes an online version of itself online. And the soon-to-be tech behemoths, they're born and they take advantage of this. And not only do they hire the world's greatest minds on artificial intelligence, search, and recommendation, but most importantly, they commoditize all of this technology. so that niche companies such as HireSpace can use it. So that brings us up to date, 2017, where we are now, and the landscape has fundamentally changed. The 621st episode of The Simpsons has just aired on television. Ed Sheeran has performed the biggest selling single of the year, and the second, and the third. Saudi Arabia has just lifted a ban on women drivers for the first time, and with health-conscious millennials eschewing the Bombay Sapphire, the world's first non-alcoholic spirit, Sea Dip, is now available on our shelves. And yet again, just like all the years before and all the years to come, it's time to organise the big annual sale. 150 people flying in from everywhere, and now it's down to Lisa's son, Graham, to organise the venue. 5,000 venues in London to choose from, has to pick the perfect one. Close to Paddington, 150 theatre style, sit-down dinner, breakout spaces, upscale and on brand.
So Graham sits down with his flat white, adjusts his sort of thick-set glasses, opens his laptop, and Googles conference venues Paddington. Now, it's worth just taking a pause for something that we now completely take for granted. But what's happening there is he's searching 5 billion web pages that have been created over the 26 years that the web has existed. And it's not just searching them, but it's learning from the tens and tens of thousands of people before him who've gone and tried to search for conference venues Paddington. And every time someone searches, that algorithm learns and gets better and starts to suggest more and more relevant results. And it's not just the venue content; it's the reviews from other events organisers, and it's not just other people, but the algorithm started to know Graham. It's got to know him pretty well, so it knows from his social network which reviews are ones that should be prioritised. It knows which web pages he's looked at before and which venue types he likes, where he's been on nights out, and where he's been for meetings, and puts those near the top. It also puts like certain venue booking platforms such as HireSpace near the top, because it's learned that people find those useful too. And so within an hour of his search, he's sent four inquiries out through HireSpace, 2 more by email, and by the next morning he's got his proposals back. It's taken him about a day. He talks through them with the team, bit of diary wrangling, arranges the viewings, and picks the one he wants. It's then on to the hotel. So he calls up the hotel, and the group bookings manager picks up and puts his request into the hotel's pricing algorithm. And it's not just looking up on a grid, it's looking at a decade of historical data, and it's maximizing the price which they think the client will take to make the most money for the hotel. And every time there's one of those requests, and every time it's tried, that algorithm gets better and better and better, taking into account neighbours' availability, their availability, the time of year, everything. And so with the hotel booked and the venue booked, it's time for Graham to relax. And fortunately, an algorithm at one of the aforementioned venue booking platforms recommended some suppliers and some caterers and AV, so he's already been in contact with them for 3 days.
All in all, still a pretty time-consuming process. So Graham, his friend, and the hotel coordinators have done about half of the thinking with that venue sourcing process. AI has done the rest. So in the here and now, AI and Graham share roughly a kind of equal weighting in the venue sourcing process. So by 2017, we can say that the artificial intelligence revolution is kind of well underway. Now, 30 years pass, and importantly, in between during that 30 years, every single interaction, every choice, every performance, every event, every piece of event feedback, all of it has been captured along the way. And data science teams at companies are growing bigger and bigger. The technology becomes cheaper and cheaper. And most importantly, consumers expect everything on demand instantly. So, for the last time, go forward 30 years. The year is 2047. The 1,235th episode of The Simpsons has just hit our screen. Faith by George Michael, the Ed Sheeran remix, is #1 in the charts, and hotels and bars in restaurants, hotels and bars in the UK have just banned the serving of alcohol. And Bombay Sapphire is officially retired from our shelves 60 years after it launched. And once again, we have the same situation, the big sales conference, 150 people flying in. Now it's Lisa's granddaughter, Ariana, that needs to find the perfect venue for 5,000, from 5,000 in London, breakout space near Paddington, sit-down dinner, upscale and on brand.
So for Ariana, I mean, it's 2047. Websites are a bit old hat, a bit 2017. So Ariana picks up her mobile assistant and says, "Okay, Google, ask HireSpace for somewhere with 150 people, theatre, breakout space, sit-down dinner, upscale, and on brand." And this assistant has a little think for about 120 milliseconds, and in those 120 milliseconds, it checks the availability of every venue in London, and not just to see if there's a confirmed booking, but to gauge the likelihood that a pencil will confirm, to also gauge the likelihood in the next few days that someone will come in and book the venue. It also checks her diary and the venue's diary to make sure there's going to be someone there for viewing in the next couple of days. And furthermore, it figures out the probability that the venue will actually accept the booking, whether the venue likes working with that sort of client. In addition, it does all the other things that Google's doing now. It looks at all the feedback from 30 years of people leaving reviews, and it prioritizes the ones that are most similar to Ariana. It looks at the costs, and not just the list price, but the actual rate that a venue ends up giving to this sort of client at this sort of time of year for this sort of event. And so 130 milliseconds later, not a week, not the next morning, Ariana is sitting there with 6 beautiful proposals from 6 venues. And she quite likes the look of 3 of them. And so she asked her assistant to organise some viewings. And instantly they're in her diary, they're in the venue's diary, and the next morning her driverless Uber whisks her between the different venues. And you know, in the 30 years that happened between now and then, admin and to and fro is removed from the role of working at a venue. So the whole focus of the job is giving informative, charismatic show rounds, is meeting people, is building relationships and maintaining them. And so the venue coordinates at these 3 venues have gotten really good at it. So on her way around, she has an incredible time, gets a real good feel for the venues, and leaves them 5-star reviews in the way back to the office in her driverless Uber. And when she gets back, she confirms the one that she likes, and onto the hotel, which is just a simple request: 100 double rooms, please, to her assistant. And the assistant, it knows what the event's for. It knows what her buying preferences are. It's learned this. It's not the first time that she's asked the assistant for something. It gives her the suggestion, says, "Do you want to confirm?" And Ariana says yes. So with the venue booked and with the hotel booked, Ariana can relax. And because it's 2047, all the caterers and the AV were intelligently packaged up with the venue proposals, and so that's already taken care of.
Yeah, so people might say, I suppose, that artificial intelligence is kind of everything that hasn't happened yet. And yet when lots of people talk about it, it's kind of something fancifully kind of futuristic. But I think what you see is that actually already in 2017, AI has gone a long way to completely revolutionizing the event sourcing process. And like Will says, it will never replace that human interaction that you get when you're doing a venue show round that you have with a client or a venue. It will never really impact on how that personal relationship develops over time. But already in 2017, it's gone a long way to revolutionizing that process. So the AI revolution is here already, and we believe it is here to stay. And that's it. And if any of you guys are interested in what HireSpace are doing, kind of specifically on AI, welcome to come and grab us at any time. Really happy to talk about how we're using it.
Thanks, guys.
There you go. Thanks.
Well done.